It's Saturday morning cartoons. And what we're looking at here is a picture of our son, Jean-Paul, Lafayette, Clouseau, DuQuette. And this is a picture from 1991, I believe, when he graduated from college at the University of California at Irvine. That's where he got his AA. And soon thereafter, he moved to Japan for a while, and then to Honolulu, Hawaii, where he got his master's degree in Honolulu. Then he returned to Japan and got his doctorate at Temple University. And now he teaches at the University of Macau in China. Now, the reason I'm showing you this because I'm very proud. Constance and I are very proud of our son and everything that he's done. And I'm bringing it up today because I believe he's probably at this very moment in the air, flying to Athens, where he's going to address students at the University of Athens in Greece. And he's going to, we're jealous, he's going to do all the sites and go to Delphi. And he said as soon as his talk's over, he's heading to the Agora. And then from there, after his stay in Athens, he's going to address students at the Sorbonne University in Paris. We're so very, very proud of him. And but I have to confess, he's done it all himself, with a little help at first from Constance, who literally taught him to read, starting at about, well, I think he got his first library card when he was I'm not sure if he was 3 or 4. We thought we'd teach him to read, and Constance taught him to read well before he went to school, because we weren't sure he's going to learn to read well in school. And his story and picture books were illustrations of temples of the Far East, Hindu temples and Buddhist temples, and beautiful picture books of things like that. But we didn't indoctrinate him at all. We only indoctrinated him by our example. And I'm going to read about this in just a second to you. And I certainly did not pressure him to do well in school. Our technique was, if he got an A in a class on his report card, we'd give him $1. And if he got a B, and this was for every class that grades were given, if he got a B, we'd give him $1. And if he got a C, we'd give him $1. And if he got a D, we'd give him $1. And if he got an F, he didn't get $1. And from the very beginning, because our own lives were so uncertain, and Constance and I both have always been unprepared for objective reality. Uh, I certainly didn't have a college degree. I only attended a couple of years, and that was simply uh, mostly to score LSD. Uh, I went to school to attend the 60s. Okay, I attended school to, as much as possible, be involved with the anti-war movement and the Students for a Democratic Society and things like that. Didn't really pay attention to my subjects very well. Uh, and even if I did, I was a drama major, okay? So we didn't have much of a background, and being a musician for so many years, we've never had enough, money to do anything. So I always told Jean-Paul, "You're going to college." That's as far as I said. You've got to go to college, and you can't really count on Papa. Papa's a bum, okay? He's a nice bum, but Papa's a bum, and you've got to go to college. And so when it comes time for that, you're going to have to figure out how to do that yourself. And so right up until sometime in junior high, he discovered with his other friends, his circle of friends, they discovered manga, Japanese comic books. And many of the good ones were still in Japanese. And he had this desire to learn enough Japanese to read those mangas. So we looked around and found a private Japanese tutor, enough to get him started. And by the time he was in high school, he was taking junior college course, Japanese language. And to do that, he had to keep his other grades up. And so he self-motivated himself to be a really good student, because Papa's a bum, and he was going to have to get scholarships and things like that in order to go to college. Also, the DuQuettes don't borrow money, okay? We don't take out loans. The DuQuettes have never had a car loan, never had a mortgage. We've never bought anything on, we still don't even have a credit card. That's just the DuQuette way. We'd just abuse all those privileges if we had those. So we just have gone through life without getting involved in credit in any way. So he did. He got himself scholarships. He got himself little scholarships, got himself big scholarships. And he got himself through an AA degree at the University of California, Irvine, got him his MA at the University of Honolulu, of Hawaii. And we're just so incredibly proud of him. And throughout it all, he's like a professional DJ too. He's been doing that forever. And his interest in things like Second Life and things like that, electronic communications and things like that, that got him interested in teaching, at first teaching language, but now teaching theoretically anything in worldwide international classrooms. using computers and things like that. And that's what he got his doctorate in. Okay. It's sort of like his parents. He just sort of invented a world for himself to be an expert in. So we're so proud of him, and we're thinking about him right now. And he's come a long way since that day back in 1991, I believe that's. So, in my book, Homemade Magic, I've got a short chapter, tiny chapter called Raising Children in a Magical Home. Starts off with an epigram from Cahill Gibran. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. Children, all children are magical beings. When a child is present, you are in the presence of a God. That little kid is the most powerful, awesome, and terrible magician in the room. And you'll surely suffer if you don't pay close attention. The child will soon enough grow into a floundering grown-up like yourself. But for a few golden years, you have the opportunity to learn from a master. This doesn't mean that you must put your magic on hold in order to raise a child. On the contrary, the moment the baby is born, your life gets really magical. But as a parent/magician, you must be perpetually mindful of the fact that the child is an ever-present and integral factor in the equation of your magical life. Try as you might, you cannot avoid the implications of this immutable fact of life. In the spring of 1971, Constance and I had been married for nearly 4 years. One afternoon, we both were struck with the same irrational conviction that it was time for us to have a baby. We did some quick calculating in our heads and determined that if conception happened immediately, the baby would be born on Constance's birthday, February 27th. Eschewing our usual contraceptive precautions and ignoring the afternoon sun, we joyously and with full intent proceeded to conceive a child. It was no trouble at all. About a month later, while attending church services at the Self-Realization Fellowship in Fullerton, that's the Yogananda group, Constance fainted. It was more like an ecstatic swoon. And I had to help her outside to the temple gardens. There, sitting on a marble bench in the cool, shaded garden, she blissfully announced that she was now sure she was pregnant. She was right. On February 27th, 1972, we woke up and said, "Today's the day we're having a baby." We took a long walk to El Matador, our favorite Mexican restaurant, and gorged on guacamole, chips, and cheese. Then, as if we were not stuffed enough, we walked even farther away from home to Thrifty Drugstore for a double scoop ice cream cone. We waddled home from our gluttonous adventure in the late afternoon and amused ourselves by playing penny ante poker and mused over the fact that we still haven't chosen a name for the baby. Early in the evening, Constance's water broke, and we were off to the hospital in my light green 1956 Chrysler Windsor, which we named Martha. Constance brought along a framed picture of our favorite guru at the time, Paramahansa Yogananda, which she set up at her bedside in the labor room. His serene image comforted us both immensely during that long night. We had both taken the first series of Lamaze natural childbirth classes at Hoag Hospital. I'm digressing here. At the time. And so we were, in those days, that was advanced, very radical stuff. Lamaze, no drugs, no gas. And so I did my best. We both trained in the Lamaze method. And, but of course, I'm such a lazy that I fell asleep rubbing her back, going, breathe, breathe. But I digress. Our beautiful baby boy was born a little over 6 hours later than we calculated 9 months earlier, and our lives instantly became even more profoundly magical. Several days later, we settled on the name Jean-Paul. On our first date back in high school, we're talking 1964 maybe, Constance told me she wanted 6 children. She had names for them all. The first was to be named Jean-Paul. And I was really hoping she'd forget about the other 5 children idea. Even though for the next 20 years we'd be operating a very active magical lodge out of our house, we tried to raise our son in the most normal environment possible. It was as if the 3 of us were growing up together. We never excluded him from lodge activities with the exception of the super secret OTO initiation ceremonies. And we took him with us everywhere. If we couldn't take him with us, we didn't go. Lodge and class members became our extended family and provided him with a collection of extremely colorful aunts and uncles whose love continues to bless our lives. For his part, Jean-Paul was always a good sport, sharing his home and his parents with countless out-of-town guests, taking part in rites and plays. For years, he read all of the fairies in our backyard performance of Midsummer Night's Dream, and helping move furniture to prepare for masses and initiations. The 3 of us were a team. We amused ourselves and we amused each other. We were and still are our own best audience and best friends. We opened our home to Jean-Paul's school friends, who also enjoyed the colorful craziness of the eccentric DuQuette household. We remain friends with them. When we're still in Costa Mesa, I'd be at the store, getting out of the car at the grocery store, and I'd hear, "Hey, Papa!" And it'd be one of Jean-Paul's friends. And in the book, I've got a picture of him and his good friend Abe Britton at a rite of Jupiter, right in our home, in our living room, with the wine and the grapes and the circumambulations and the... Magic is not a belief system. at least as the term is commonly understood. So there was really not much doctrine with which we could indoctrinate Jean Paul. Therefore, there was little for him to rebel against. Besides instructing him to always use common sense and logic when evaluating spiritual or philosophical ideas, we encouraged him to develop his own spiritual worldview. We exposed him to a broad spectrum of religious ideas and never pressured him to believe anything. As far as I can determine, our lifestyle provided a safe, nurturing, stimulating, and for as wild and crazy as things were, a wholesome environment for a child to grow up in. We couldn't be prouder of the man that he has become. Constance and I are both of the opinion, although there's no way to prove this, that the child chooses the parents and does for reasons that none of us can or will completely understand with our meat brains. We may have our personal opinions and theories of child rearing, but neither of us would ever dream of telling another parent how to raise their child. That being said, I've got a few suggestions that might be helpful for magicians with children. First, don't make a big, spooky, dramatic deal out of your magical studies and practices. Your involvement in magic might be dark, spooky, and mysterious to your parents and grandparents, but it shouldn't be a dark or spooky thing for your children. It should be intelligent, fun, logical, beautiful, and above all, normal. To that end, don't behave as if the rest of the world is persecuting you for your magical beliefs or lifestyle. Don't suggest that your involvement in magic is any way dangerous, sinful, or illegal. Don't expect children to understand the metaphoric reality of angels, demons, and gods. That's so freaking important. Don't expect your children to understand the metaphoric reality of angels, demons, and gods. Set a positive example. If the practice of magic makes you happy, let your children see and share your happiness. If the practice of magic does not make you happy, get into something else. Parenting is, always has been, and always shall be challenging and sometimes a frustrating endeavor. Your parents weren't perfect, and you aren't or won't be perfect either. Prepare to forgive your parents for their imperfections. And if you're lucky, your children will someday forgive you for your shortcomings. Your magic will not help you if you cannot free yourself of both the past and the future. And that's it for Saturday morning cartoons. We'll see you tomorrow for Sunday school. Until then, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. And keep in mind, it's the aeon of the child.